Welcome to another episode of Reptile Fight Club. I'm your host, Justin G. Linder, and with me as always,
back on the horn.
Chuck Poland is here in the house. Well, not in the house, but
I'm in my house.
He's in his house.
Yes.
And I'm in my house.
That's right. We are in the house.
But pretty soon we are going to be in the same car herping, so that's going to be cool.
That's correct.
Got another couple weeks. I'm itching to get out there for sure.
Yeah. No,
it's going to be a good time.
It will be a good time. It'll be fun. We'll have a good time.
Yeah.
Get to kick it with the Podfather.
Yeah. So, it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Yep, and Rob, you got to see Rob in action, man.
I can't wait to see all of you in action. I've heard these stories about you, the mild mannered doctor who becomes an animal in the night. So I'm waiting. I'm waiting to see it.
Yeah, well, hopefully you'll
Did you almost just yawn right now? Yeah,
I'm a little tired.
Yeah, I got you.
It's been a bit of a week,
dude. I don't know. I don't know if it's just getting older or whatever, but this time change, like it messed me up it messed me up for 2 days straight.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm excited to get back. So next week I'm in Seattle for a conference, so I'll be gaining an hour back because I'm going to Pacific time. And
that's the only way you get your hour back.
Exactly. And then the week after I'm going to California, so I'll be getting it back as well.
Yeah.
But, there you go. They just passed legislation to make it permanent. So does that mean nobody's having it?
I don't know. Can somebody tell? Okay, so and I don't, was I talking about this with you? But I'm like, I remember, so I was born in Indiana, and I remember daylight savings time always being a thing since I was a kid. But I remember that other places didn't do it. And so I always had this thing of like, we were weird in Indiana because we did it, and I never understood why. And I think it was you I was talking to, and you had said like, oh, it's about farming or something. And what is it about? Oh, well, my wife says that's a myth, that it's not about farming. So
myth busted.
We didn't start daylight savings until 2006. I feel like Indiana was doing it far before 2006.
Oh yeah, I had it when I was a kid.
Yeah, me too. Sure. Me too. I don't know. Well, my wife's almost always
in
right.
California.
So, yeah. So, I don't know. It's weird. What I want is to get to the bottom of the why of daylight savings time. So, if any of the listeners out there,
on a future episode,
I guess, or somebody, maybe Dr. Loafman. I don't know. I need somebody smart here. Help us out.
How can we relate this to reptiles? So, daylight savings reptiles. I don't enjoy it, so I'm glad they're going to get rid of it. Hopefully, that's like a nationwide thing. For anybody that doesn't know what daylight savings is, every year we in the spring we move forward an hour, and so we basically lose an hour. That you're, and so you got to wake up earlier and try to go to bed earlier, even though your body's telling you it's not that late. And then in the fall we fall back and gain an hour, and so then you've got an extra hour to sleep, and it's really fun and nice, and
that's
something to look forward to.
That's my only one. Yeah.
Just a couple of years ago, it seems they moved that window shorter, so you had like between the fall back and the spring forward, it was a shorter amount of time. So I don't know why they did that, but it was like maybe that was a move towards getting rid of it. But
they're just goalpost moving at this point. They're like, this is dumb, but we're not really willing to give up. Okay, fine. Now we're willing to give up.
Yeah. So for whatever reason we had it, and for whatever reason we're getting rid of it. So,
COVID epidemic, and they're like, fuck it. We're not doing that shit anymore. We're not doing dumb stuff anymore. So no, we'll still do dumb stuff. That's it.
Oh yeah, that's a given. But so I'm trying to get used to the new time, I guess, and
the new time.
Get used to waking up earlier and all that good stuff. So I'm always a little tired around this time of year, but work's been pretty busy. I'm getting ready to go to a conference, so that'll be hopefully I'll get in a little bit of herping time up there if it's warm enough, or if stuff's out. But hopefully I'll get to see some friends in the area. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I was like, okay, so when you go to like a virology conference, do you have colleagues that you're like, oh, Frank, I haven't seen you in forever.
Oh yeah,
how you doing?
For sure.
So
Yeah.
is it, I guess it's not a small community, but like
Mhm.
I would assume viral researchers know each other at some
Yeah.
level. And
I mean, the conference is like 300 people. So,
yeah.
it's
Oh
pretty
yeah,
big.
for
I
sure.
don't know everybody, but I definitely know, like, so I'm involved as the program chair. So I, put together, say, organize the committees who review the abstracts and then say who gets to give an oral presentation, who gets to give a poster. So I kind of
Got
get
it.
to, I'm kind of involved in the organization of the meeting and things like that. So that's been fun. I've done that for the last few years. And, so that's been nice. The guy that I took over for, he was just a great man. His name's Mark Pritchard, and he was really, just a powerhouse in the antiviral field and just a really nice guy. And he was the one that was doing the program chair before me, so he trained me. But he passed away a couple of years ago. So that was kind of a sad
Bummer.
loss.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so I trying to do
Do
keep the
justice to his
thing.
shoes. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
exactly. Trying to fill big shoes. But
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, through that I've gotten to know, and before, when I was a grad student and when I was first a research assistant professor, I was the photographer for the society, so I got to know a lot of people that way,
Yeah. Yeah.
taking all the pictures for the awards and stuff like that. So I got to know some of the higher ups, the presidents, and that kind of thing. So it was kind of a good introduction. And I've been going to this meeting since like 2000, 2001, somewhere around there. So it's a good meeting.
Are you going to meet up with Casey or Ryan or anybody up there?
Hoping to,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see how it works out. I mean, Ryan's a little bit out of the way. He and Nick are out kind of on the border of Idaho, so I
In
don't
the
know,
sticks.
in the sticks. And I don't think I'll have a vehicle or anything like that, so I'm kind of at the mercy of either Uber or that kind of thing. So I've been chatting with Casey. Hopefully we can get together.
Yeah,
It'd be
come
good
and
to
get your
catch up with
boy
him.
Casey. Come on.
Yeah,
I know
I'm sure a fan of that guy. He's a good guy. So.
I know you're itching to see shinglebacks and all kinds of
Oh
other fun
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure.
I saw him post up some of his shinglebacks
Oh
a
yeah,
day or so yeah, today, maybe yesterday.
uh-huh.
So it's like, so
They're
cool,
such
man.
cool lizards.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. They're a fun one to see in the wild. We saw quite a few of those in Western Australia, but
And
yeah, they're
are they
they're
fairly
awesome.
common to see or?
Depends. I mean, in certain areas, yes. In one area, we saw several pairs. We
Mhm.
could follow them, their tracks, and you'd find them in, hunkered down under some leaves or something like that. So, yeah, there were quite a few locally abundant in that area, and I think there's like South Australia. There's places where you can see 50 in a day or something. They're
Yeah.
just all over the place.
I
So,
remember you saying that DOR
yeah,
is
yeah.
a real
Once,
common thing. So I figured that that they're in abundance.
Yeah, one stretch I can't, and maybe they just don't disappear very quickly
Oh, I
after they
thought you
get
were
hit,
gonna say Dodge
but
cars.
yeah,
Like
they don't dodge cars well. But
obviously.
but there were like, 30 or something in like a kilometer stretch. It was not
That's a lot.
there were way too many
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
And seeing those huge populations, you're like, they only have one baby every year or two,
Mhm.
so it's like, or one or two maybe, and so you just think, how are their populations so big that they can withstand such vehicle
Shellacking, yeah.
mortality,
Vehicular shellacking.
exactly.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
they're such cool animals. So yeah, it'd be hopefully I'll get to catch up with Casey. He's a
Yeah.
great guy.
Yep.
Other than that, yeah, it's just business as usual. We're just trying to keep up with the work and all that good stuff. So how about
Nice.
you? Work treating you all right?
Yeah, work's good. We're busy. We're doing a big repair to an aircraft that the
Hmm.
Navy jacked up, and so it's a first of its kind repair. So a lot of eyes,
Hmm.
a lot of press
Wow.
and fanfare about it. So
Oh
and
wow.
it's going really well, which is great. Credit to all the guys in the shop. But
Hmm.
yeah, just that, and we got another aircraft that that the Marines they had a landing gear that failed to come down, so they had to land on some mattresses on the nose of
Oh,
the aircraft. So they smushed some stuff on the nose of the aircraft. So that's coming in for a PMI event, and then we're gonna do
fun.
some rework on that as well. So got some
Hmm.
interesting projects, some fun stuff, and but
Nice.
we're busy and it's evaluation time, so I've got to do performance evals, and some of
That's not fun.
my least
Yeah,
favorite stuff is telling people about themselves. But it's nice when you can tell people good stuff, but it's not always fun when
yeah.
you got to tell people bad stuff. So
Oh,
not
yeah.
not my
No,
favorite, but
yeah.
you know,
I don't have too many I have to do, so that's nice,
yeah.
but so, I guess on the reptile side of things, if we haven't scared everybody away talking about our day jobs,
We do have
um,
lives outside of
yeah,
reptiles.
we do not just do reptiles, but,
Wake up
um,
if you're sleeping now.
yeah,
We put you to sleep.
you can stop your fast forward,
Yeah.
here and hear about reptiles. Um, I got a clutch of womb eggs. I don't know if I mentioned that on the podcast.
Yeah, sweet,
Um
dude.
but unfortunately, like, I've lost like 4 of the 6 eggs have crashed, or maybe there were even 7,
How
and
far?
one I knew was infertile at the get-go, but the others I thought were good, and
Yeah.
now I'm down to 2, so I don't know, maybe they just weren't that great. It was a first-time male,
Uh-huh.
a second breed, second year for a female, and she produced last year, and she also had a retained egg, in her last year's or 2 years ago. I guess none of the
Yeah.
Asperides went last year because I moved. So 2 years ago she laid,
Mhm.
and she had a retained egg that she had in there. I was debating, surgical removal, because sometimes that can not end well. But I've
Right.
also had it where, several months down the road they'll pass the egg, and she actually passed the egg, and so it was a couple months after she laid. So I was a little worried, but she got it out okay. So I don't, sometimes I kind of let nature take its course, but, other than I just don't have much confidence in vets around here,
Yeah.
especially surgical procedures
Well,
to remove an egg or something like that. And I'm
I
definitely
just
not doing that myself.
I just think that's, anytime you go, there's a reason, at least in humans, why there's a course of treatment, and it always involves therapy and,
Hmm.
drugs and all these other things that they run you through before they do surgery. Because generally speaking, surgeries are, for certain things, are really
Hmm.
effective. But, anytime you got to cut somebody open, in a in a
Yeah.
fairly invasive way, it tends to not be, you have some repercussions out of that. And I
Yeah.
think that,
Yeah.
you know,
And
um,
throw in a non-reptile vet, you're looking
yeah,
at very low success. So,
yeah, I agree with that.
that puts you in a difficult spot. And, maybe I should have driven to wherever I could find a competent reptile vet, but
Do you have
that's failed as well.
a good reptile vet around you at all, or?
There's one that has some experience with reptiles, but, it's,
Mhm.
like a lot of the vets where they have some.
Yeah,
I don't know that they're going to know how to do a surgery.
yeah,
We did, our university, Utah State, just announced that we're going to start a full veterinary degree program. We have a 2x2, 2-year program here, and then they go to up to, Washington for the next the final 2 years. But now we're going to have a full 4-year program at our university. So that means, teaching like veterinary hospital
cool.
in our valley, and so that'll make, veterinary costs come down quite a bit.
Hmm.
I'm curious to see how the local vets are going to take that, because that's always kind of a big competition, and they
Sure.
kind of outcompete because you've got people kind of learning techniques, but you also may have some more expertise at a teaching, veterinary hospital, where you can get maybe some, people with reptile expertise. So
Yeah, I mean, I
I'm
think
looking
it's
forward to that.
definitely. I mean, depending upon how your practice is structured, I could see you, potentially having a good talent pool to pull from, or
Yeah. Yeah.
or it makes competition kind of stiff. But
Yeah.
um,
So we'll see how it works out. But, right now the options are a little slim. But,
yeah,
um
yeah, I'm
I
lucky. I don't have to. I got Dr. Thomas Boyer out here. He's
oh,
a yeah.
that's nice.
He's
Big
man.
name, and
He's
yeah.
he's in worked with Mater and all those, like, just
Hmm.
he's an old school reptile vet. Did a
Yeah.
lot of work with the San Diego Zoo, and so I'm
Hmm.
lucky to have him around here. But
Yeah.
um,
That's cool. But, other
haven't needed him much.
yeah.
Knock on wood. But
That's good, yeah, and that's once you get going, there's not a ton of things that really require a lot of veterinary care. So that's
Yeah.
been good. Haven't had too many issues, but on my black-headed python should be laying soon. I've got a nest box for her, and she's been inverted quite a
Yeah.
bit lately, and contorting herself. So hopefully eggs are on the way. I'm worried that the eggs are going to come when I'm out of town and she won't wrap them up, but
Of
she's
course.
kind of remained in her nest box pretty well. So I'm kind of training my daughter on what to look for, and she's been checking on her and
These
excited. So I
these
told her,
four
just
walls shall contain you. Yeah.
yeah. So hopefully if she, lays and she kind of at least kind of wraps them a bit, I may leave her with them until I get back. But otherwise, I've got my daughter on standby, and I
There
told
you
her just
go.
FaceTime me and we can work it out. But
There
I've
you
taught
go.
her how to do it. So we'll see how that goes.
Nice. Yeah.
But
I
yeah, it's always seems to happen when I go out of town. There's
yeah.
somebody that's going to lay eggs, but
No,
I've got
that's
to,
I mean, that's like I feel like that's almost rule of
yeah,
keeping is like big stuff happens when you're like on a trip or ready to go
right.
on a trip and you're like, "Oh no,
Uh,
this is going to be horrible." And it ends
yeah,
up usually being okay.
yeah,
At
yeah,
least for
that's
me,
true.
usually it's okay, but it's like,
Yeah.
I'm more stressed than anything else. It just
Hmm.
equals more stress for me, but
And,
um
Asperities aren't the best mothers when it comes to eggs. So
yeah.
a lot of times they'll just lay them and go. But
Yeah.
so hopefully the humidity within her hide will take care of that. So I tried to get an environment that would be suitable for the eggs in case that happens. But
Yeah.
yeah, and then I've got a jungle that should be laying soon. So I haven't hatched out jungles for a while. I
Where
haven't
is
really
this
paired much up.
where does this jungle come from?
This is my kind of Python Pete
It's the
lineage
old Python
stuff.
Pete line?
Yeah.
Okay,
Hmm.
cool, cool.
And mixed in. So I've got
Is it Python Pete, or
it's actually the zebra stuff. So I've got a zebra
Oh, okay.
female and a Python Pete. Well, actually, it's a skunk flower. It's one of the skunk line,
Uh-huh.
like striped
Yep,
type background animals. So hopefully I'll get some stripes out of this one.
that'd be
Um,
cool.
Out of the pairing, some striped zebras would be kind of fun. So
Yeah,
we'll see what happens. But
yeah.
yeah, it'd be nice to produce some jungles
What's
again.
what's the market like on zebras? Are
I have,
people interested
I have
in
no
those?
clue.
I
Probably
I
not.
don't know
Yeah.
what's going on. Like, I'm just like, if
Yeah.
it's normal, okay, but I don't know. I don't
I think
know.
they're well, and these are going to be nice,
Yeah,
nicely colored
yeah,
zebras, and I don't know. I mean, I think normal jungles are they're probably not much more than normal jungles, but normal
yeah,
jungles still sell pretty well,
yeah.
and I plan on holding on to them a little bit, let them color up a little because they always sell better that way
That's how you
anyway.
do it, man. That's how
Yeah,
you do
exactly. And
anybody who
I
knows.
like watching them grow up and change
Yeah,
and get colors,
yeah.
and I probably want to hold on to one or two maybe. So we'll
Yeah,
see
you
how that
sit there and
goes.
you say like, "Oh, I got to hold on to these," and you're like, "What am I doing? I can't hold on to all these." And
Yeah.
then,
Right.
and it is kind of fun, like, when I hatched out that Andrew hairline that I had, and just
Mhm.
sending really killer jungles to people, and they were just pumped, like
Yeah.
they,
Yeah.
it's just like,
Oh
it's
yeah,
like
you had some
you
nice. I got some
yeah,
from you. Yeah,
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 it just makes people's, like, it makes their day,
yeah.
so
So yeah, hopefully I've got an inland or two that'll lay. I'm not as confident on those, but we'll
yeah,
see. I've got them together. I've seen some locks, so that's a good sign
that's
that
good,
things are
that's
moving in the
good,
right
yeah,
direction. But what else? Pygmy pythons should be laying soon. Some other Antaresia,
cool,
wheat belt stimsons. Yeah, things are progressing. So before long, I'll be up to my eyeballs in snakes and lizards. I
there
hope.
you go, that's
Yeah,
good problems to have.
I'm really excited about the Agurnia stuff. Hopefully, the spiny tailed skinks produce this year. That'd be
Yeah.
fun to get some of those. Maybe the tree skinks. So see what happens.
Yeah. Nice. Nice.
Yeah. And Ben told me, or he announced that he's working. I think he was on a podcast. What was that? I listened to him a little while back, and gosh, now that's going to bother me. But maybe it was Lizard Brain Radio, something like that. Anyway, Ben announced that he's got a genetic test for. Reptile Genetic Services is developing a test for skinks to
Oh, cool.
tell male and
Detecting
female.
skinks.
So yeah, that'll be
Damn.
huge. So I've
Game
collected some
changer.
Yeah, I've collected some shed skins from known sexes and some unknowns to see,
Oh my god,
give it
people's
a
all
test run.
people's all people's unsexed bullshit falls
Mhm.
away. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So that'll be nice. Yeah, I'm
Yeah, that's
curious
cool.
to see how that works,
Good for
and
him, that's awesome.
if that happens, I'm gonna be a customer for
Oh,
sure. Like, be
yeah,
sending
definitely.
those shed skins from the skinks. That'd be nice to be able to sell
Yeah,
sex babies.
yep.
Because it's even hard when they're adults to know what you got.
Mhm.
I go back and forth on some, and then you put them with the opposite sex, and sometimes the behavior is really clear, and other times they don't do anything. You're like, well,
Yeah,
what does this mean?
yeah,
So it's
exactly,
tricky. Yeah. So,
exactly.
well,
Cool.
how about you? What you got on the reptile front?
Yeah, still kind of unsure about the Tracy A. Just kind of, they're not, I mean, you know, not really doing their behaviors this year like they were. So it might be a bust year for those. But the looks like the female coastal that's kept outside is gonna
Oh,
lay some eggs this year.
cool.
So yeah, I went
Yeah.
out. She looks like she's probably close to a prelay shed. So.
Are you gonna
Um,
let them maternally incubate?
Man, I don't know. This,
Mm.
I feel like we could have a show on this, but
We should. Yeah.
yeah, we should. We should, shouldn't we?
Yes, we should.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I am not typically the maternal incubator type, but I
Mhm.
certainly I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, where they're outside and natural
Yeah.
settings, let her try it out. That'd be
Yeah. I don't
cool to
I
have.
guess I
Well, then
guess
again, I guess you gotta pay attention when the babies are due, right? Could they slip
yeah.
out of the enclosure? Or is the
Yeah.
mesh
I
small
mean,
enough to contain them?
it's quarter-inch mesh, so,
Okay.
I
Yeah, that would
mean,
hold them.
I'd hate for them to try to get out of it and get
Yeah.
stuck in it or something like that,
That would not
but
be fun to go out and see a bunch of
oh god,
babies halfway through the mesh
yeah,
or
that'd be
something, yeah.
horrible, dude.
That'd be bad. But I
Freaking
mean,
going through the meat
yeah.
grinder.
I guess they usually hang out for a bit with the females, so maybe they
Yeah.
kinda disperse, I guess, after they start hatching. The
I
females
mean,
usually
I'm sure they're gonna go
take
check
off,
it.
but
Yeah, I mean, it's,
yeah.
like, so I don't know. We'll
Huh,
see if we
that'd
get
be
some
cool.
eggs. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
That's and that if the male's still plugging with lead, then
Mhm.
that'll be potentially a pretty cool clutch of at least lineage stuff from
Mhm.
Luke Snell's red line. So
Oh,
that'd be
cool.
kind of cool.
Very nice.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I know Eric had said he would be interested in something,
Oh, yeah.
because his red line comes from that Snell red line. So,
Yeah,
um,
that's cool.
yeah. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see how everything else goes. I'm usually the overly pessimistic type about stuff. I mean, it doesn't look
Yeah.
horrible with other stuff, but I always get faked out until the end where I'm like, oh
Mhm.
nope, 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 it's good, it's good, it's definitely good. Like so,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Um,
I think that's everybody. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So,
Um,
but not, like this year is definitely. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a bust with the Tracy A, just because the females bit. But I mean, I don't know. We had some weather events, and the female was just like cruising around the cage and wasn't like, it was very like, oh, what are you doing? This is not what you're supposed to be doing. And
mhm.
but she's in her nest box now, hanging out, and I kind of peek my head in there, but I'm it's she's kind of in that in between where I'm like, okay, could be something going on here, but maybe not,
Yeah,
so it's like, I
yeah,
don't know, you know what I mean? I just kind
yeah,
of am like, okay, well, it's going to be what it's going to be. Okay, fine. So we'll see.
yeah. Well, I'm rooting for you. I think a lot of people are, so
Thanks, man. Yeah,
that'll be
I
cool.
mean, it really would be nice. And I mean, like I said,
Mhm.
one more clutch and I'll start giving people animals. So,
Yeah, yeah.
it'll be a
Well, then I'm sure a lot more just started rooting for you too. Good
so
stuff. All right, well, should we start fighting?
yeah, let's
You
fight.
wanna fight?
Fight, fight, fight,
Okay.
fight, 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 fight.
So, I guess as a little introduction, we're going to talk about mental health. So, this was a topic that was suggested by somebody, and I apologize.
It came through Eric. Somebody talked
Oh, it
to
was through
Eric Burke.
Eric.
Yeah.
That's why I couldn't find it. I was looking on
Yeah.
all our messages and stuff, trying to figure out where this idea came from. So
Yeah.
I guess
Oh my
if
gosh.
it
Hey,
was
hey, hey,
if it was
I'm
your idea,
recording over here.
if it was your idea, let us know. We can give you credit, or maybe,
Yeah.
yeah. But anyway, thank you for your suggestions, and we've been getting some really nice suggestions from some of the listeners, so that's been nice. But yeah, we're going to talk about mental health and kind of how reptile keeping can contribute positively or negatively to our mental health. So I think this is an important topic, and I think you need to watch for kind of some of the stressors or things that can negatively impact your mental health when keeping reptiles. So we're gonna kind of discuss the pros and cons of reptile keeping and mental health. So
It
let's.
definitely can make you go Edward Norton.
That's right. So we'll try a little of
Little
that.
Fight Club reference
Little
for
Fight Club
anybody.
reference.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
That's
Yep.
good.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Okay, well, you ready to call the toss? I'm sure
Yeah.
you
I
know what it's
mean,
going to be.
come on. Let's see. Let's
Okay,
see. Ready?
okay, go for it.
Tails.
Oh, it's heads.
See,
You,
but did you throw it extra high this
I
time?
don't.
You
I
did.
might
You
have. I
totally
might
did.
have.
You
I don't know.
totally did. And
That was
see,
subconscious. I'm sure.
no, it was not. Well, I told you, I gave
You
you the
did.
game.
You gave me
I
the
gave
game
you the
plan.
game, so it's fine. I
Yeah.
mean, I just wanted you to know what power I have in the coin toss right now.
All
Is
right.
not
All
only
right.
will I win, but I'll let you know how to win. Yeah.
Okay. Well, man, I guess I'm pretty okay discussing either side. I think there's good
Well, you
points on
won, so
both sides.
pick
I'll take the negative impacts.
the negative impacts.
Yeah.
So I'm
So you
taking the
can take the
positive
positive
impacts
impact of
of
reptile
keeping
keeping.
reptiles.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. And based on the tradition you've said, I'll
Oh
let you go
God.
first.
All right.
So what
Well,
you got?
I mean, I think as reptile keepers, we can all hopefully see some of the positive impacts of keeping reptiles. I think it gives you an appreciation for, all different forms of animals, and reptiles being so different from humans and other mammals. It kind of gives you a different perspective. It kind of makes, at least for me, it makes me more kind of inquisitive about, um, form and function of biology, through
Mhm.
time, and how kind of the how we got here story. It definitely brightens my mental when I see my lizards doing something kind of interesting or fun, or watching their behaviors, or just like when I get my diamonds shed out, and it's just like, oh man, that is fucking awesome right there.
Mhm.
Just beautiful, beautiful things just stuff that is, awesome and majestic, and we can have, in our life, and in our house, and we can interact with it, and
Mhm.
it just can be a different positive experience. I think everybody, most of the world is familiar with the dogs and the cats and the mammals, but to have a unique experience with what is considered exotic
Yeah.
by a majority of other people is something to me that's like a really, you know I think most people would look at it like, oh, that's, whoa, what? No, you keep snakes in your house? Like, yeah, it's fucking awesome. So, it's for me, it's a boost for my mental.
hmm I mean, obviously, this is probably not going to be a true fight because I think we both share. Uh,
God damn, man, you're giving up the goods right out the gate.
um, because
Kumbaya comes at the
obviously,
end. It comes
obviously,
at the
I keep
end.
I keep reptiles and I enjoy it thoroughly, and it does that for me too. I mean, my Instagram's just pictures of pretty snakes and lizards and other animals in nature. Even just landscapes do my heart good. Uh, do really good for my mental health. But definitely there are aspects of keeping reptiles that can really test your fortitude, I guess, or your mental health. And sometimes it can even push you over the edge to where you just don't want to keep anymore. And so I think this is more of a debate on things to watch out for, things to look for, and in regards to keeping reptiles and maintaining a good level of mental health. Now I think one thing that a lot of new keepers experience when they start keeping reptiles is can come from the other older keepers that have been doing it for a long time. They want to get in, but sometimes the groups are a little snooty, or like, oh, you're just a newbie, you can't keep this, this is way beyond your capacity. And so I think it turns off a lot of people to keeping reptiles when they're all excited about a group of reptiles, and they come in and try to find people who have that interest, and then they find them, and then those people are jerks to them, and they're just
I call that the Caponetto.
Oh, shots fired. I'm sure he's a big listener to our show.
I bet he's not.
Yeah, I think the last time I talked to him, anyway.
Yeah. Was it great? Was it a great experience?
No, it was not. Anyway, so I think, if you're coming into the hobby, make sure you have a little bit of a thick skin. But also, if you've been in the hobby for a while, let's be a little more welcoming and kind to those coming in.
I'm sorry, Andrew.
Yeah.
There. Better.
Well, no.
I think damage done.
You're okay there. No, you're okay.
Shit.
He deserves what he gets, I think.
All right.
But anyway, so yeah, let's be more welcoming.
My bad. Yeah. That was
that played in perfectly.
Yeah.
Because no, I mean, there are definitely personalities in the reptile keeping hobby, and I think they almost do it on purpose because they have that attitude of any press is good press, and so they're inflammatory on purpose.
And look, we know people who live in chaos, right? They thrive off the chaos, and I feel like all shapes and sizes we get here, and those people are not necessarily good for your mental health. Like if there's people
if you
who
engage with them or try to fight them or try to argue with people online. Yeah, I mean, Facebook arguments are pretty much pointless. Any online arguments are pointless because you're not going to change anybody's mind, and it just makes you look bad to half the people that know you or something. It just doesn't end well, and I've learned that the hard way because I like to engage it once in a while, and so. But yeah, that's something that definitely contributes negatively to mental health.
Oh, I mean, I think it's fairly safe to say that I was known as an instigator at some point.
You?
Yeah,
what?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. No.
And, I mean, I try to, it's so. So, I mean, I get it. It's just one of those things where, you can't let other people influence your mental health when it comes to reptiles and the drama and all the I'll be honest, like that was one of the reasons why I slimmed down my collection and kind of stepped away from doing a lot of carpets and stuff like that, because it was just which my fault for getting caught up in it, right? Like if you can just and it was cool, like I stepped away for a little bit, and like I would say my headspace wasn't good when I had, a lot of animals and was just over people's fucking bullshit. And I'm like, all right, I'm fucking done with this. I'm fucking done. Fuck this shit. And, I had my Tracier, and then I had those coastals, and I didn't really have too much else, back through those animals, the Tracier helped really reconnect me with keeping reptiles and saying like, okay, you know what? No, this is something I enjoy. This is something I want to do. And, the working with it, like I get something out of it. And I think when you get turned off and your mental space is bad, you know, you can push away from those reptiles, and you're doing the minimum. You're not engaging like you used to. But if you can find your way back into that, it helps you reconnect with like, oh my God, these are amazing. Oh my God, I get so much out of this. Oh my gosh, and then
Yeah.
you're kind of like, man, I feel like what I'm saying is probably something that everybody's experienced if you've done this long enough, where you're like, I had to step away for a while to like catch my breath and realize how much I still enjoy this, how much I still really want to do this, and I want to be fair to the animals. And I think, obviously everybody's going to have a negative headspace and negative mental health at some point in their life,
Sure.
bar none,
Yeah.
bar none. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody. So,
Hmm.
you know, doing what you have to do to keep your headspace positive, no shame in that game, right?
Yep.
Don't bite the damn bullet. If things are bad, and just keep pushing a bad,
Hmm.
making things worse by that, right? Like, do what you
Yeah.
have to do, and I
Yeah.
think I think a lot of people will see that the community's out there to support, and there's there's definitely people who are your friend and do care about you. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, there's still people out there who are like, don't give a shit about you, but because you have animals, they give a shit about you. I
Hmm.
mean, that's
Yeah.
that's
That,
that's
that
that's the
happens.
way that's the way some of it is. But
Yeah.
there are really people who are out there who are your friend and who are really down for you. And I think, those are people who will help you out if you're
Hmm.
kind of in that spot where it's like, I can't do this anymore. And I think that's the, being able to say that you're not in a good place because of, for whatever reason, however you got there, right? Because the monotony of keeping reptiles is a difficult thing, right?
Yeah, and I think that leads me to my next topic is that, a lot of people when they get into reptiles, they're so excited because there's so many cool reptiles that they just start buying, buying, buying. And I remember when I first started, I started with bearded dragons because I saw a female bearded dragon that was gravid, digging at a pet shop. And so I bought her and she took her home and she laid eggs and I hatched out those eggs and sold them back to the pet shop. And I'm like, wow, you can keep these animals and make a little
Dang.
money on the side. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was like and so
Cha-ching.
so I'm like, oh, if one bearded dragon can do this. So then I bought a male from the same shop, and then then I was looking all over for bearded dragons, and I found this person selling a group of them, and I bought those, and then I brought them home, and I'm like, oh, what are these little red things crawling on them? It's like, then I had
Mm,
to deal with mites for the first time, and that was not enjoyable. And then
no.
I didn't quarantine the collection, the new animals, and so I just put them all together. And after I took care of the mites, but then they had other internal parasites that spread to everybody, and then nobody was breeding. So I had
Yeah.
maybe a year or two of really good production out of a couple females, and then all of a sudden
It went
nothing.
to
And
hell.
then they started kind of dying one by one, and it was just like, oh man, I dove into this too fast, or I got and I think that a lot of times that goes along with the dollar signs in your eyes. If you're keeping animals because you like them and they're interesting and they're cool and you can't get enough of them, that's one thing. But if you're saying, "Ooh, I can make money doing this," a lot of times that just doesn't work out
Yeah.
because, as we all know, in the reptile world, if you want to make $1 million, start with $2 million,
Yeah.
and in reptiles, and you'll you'll get to that
Yeah.
$1 million real quick.
Yeah.
So not to say that you can't make a living out of it, but there's a lot of compromises that you need to make to make that happen. And I
Well, those
think,
people who make a living out of it are professionals, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
they have
and
gone
they
through.
didn't start out that way. Yeah,
No,
they've gone
exactly.
through all this and found
They
their
probably started out just like you did
yeah,
with
exactly.
oh my gosh, I can do this, and then
Hmm.
realize, oh my gosh, there's gigantic pitfalls that I
Hmm.
didn't even realize were associated with this, and that everybody has to learn the hard way, right? And
Yeah.
and and that's, I mean, I think, that is what it is, right? Like,
Yep.
you have to learn somehow, and hopefully, it's great to learn by others mistakes, but oftentimes people learn through their own mistakes.
Yeah.
um
And I would just say, that the kind of the bottom line of that is trying to breed animals and just doing it for money, just getting those dollar signs in your eyes, that generally, you know, leads to negative mental health. And if you just appreciate the animals for what they are and you love them, you keep them, you know, a lot of times the money will follow in some way. You're not going to be rich by any stretch of the imagination, but you'll be able to pay for the food and, you know, housing and stuff like that of your animals. And you know, that it's kind of a hobby that kind of pays for itself. But
Unless you spend 20 grand on Bolins and reproduce them, that's good for your mental health.
yeah, yeah, if you can reproduce, but if you spend 20 grand and one of them dies, then you're like, oh, well,
That
now
is
20 grand,
not
I have
good
a
for your
20
mental
grand,
health.
you know, pet. That's a little rough. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got to be able to fully consider losing all of your money. There's no such thing as a reptile investment. You know, that's kind of a silly thing I think we've concocted in this, you know, kind of pyramid scheme idea of reptile breeding. And I think we've kind of gone a little bit off the rails that way, as a, you know, herpetoculturist. So I think it would be nice to, you know, get back on the rails and consider that in your mental health formula. Don't equate animals with money, and you'll probably be better off in regards to mental health.
Yeah, I definitely don't disagree with that. I mean, I think there is a monetary, you know, factor in all that you're not getting away from. But
Sure.
I take your point, and I totally agree with it. You know, I think if you're, you know, primarily doing it for the things that make you, you know, that interest you and make you happy, that's going to give you the most positive mental outlook on it. You know what I mean? Versus you're
Mhm.
going after something because, you know, it's fucking cool on Instagram, or you heard you can make $1 million from Bob Clark by breeding big. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
that's
Yep.
a hollow. That will always be a hollow pursuit because it's not your thing. Like your
Mhm.
thing, doing your thing will always be a fruitful endeavor, even if you struggle with it. And you know, there's people who have gone into fruitful, you know, their own endeavors and struggled and succeeded. And man, so that's so, you know, such an amazing feeling for them, right?
Yeah,
You know?
I don't think I can think of an example of a somebody who just is wealthy that doesn't really care about reptiles, that gets into breeding reptiles and stays very long. You know,
Yeah, no,
this is,
no.
you know, I think, yeah, in some ways there's a lot of things about our hobby that make a lot of people kind of go, what, you know, and I
Hmm.
think if you don't have the staying power, if you don't really care about the animals, you're not going to stick around, because there's not a lot of, you know, that money's not easy to come by. It
Yeah.
requires a lot of work and a lot
Hmm.
of caring about living creatures and stuff. And you know, sometimes the importers can get away with it because they're just bringing stuff in, and you know, a lot of that may die, and sometimes they have to have a little bit of a thick skin. We've talked about that on previous episodes. But
Sure.
you know, if captive breeding of animals, you really have to be in it for the animals rather than the money, or you'll have no staying power,
Yeah.
you know.
Well,
So
and really big kudos to, you know, people like the Bells and like people who do it big but do it really really well, because that's not
mhm.
easy. That's tough.
No, yeah, and
And
there are very few that can do that. You know,
yeah,
the market won't support that
and they're
terrible amount.
obviously, I mean, they're, you know, they're not struggling through misery with their collections. They're
Mhm.
happy, healthy, you know, they're people who are living their dreams. And so,
Yeah.
you know, it's not to say that you can't, you know, you can't have a big collection and have, you know, a great mental outlook on it and do it well. And you can. It's just, you
Sure.
know, it
Yeah.
it it's it, it all depends. It all depends on you. You know what I mean? It's about the
Mhm.
person
Mhm.
and where they're at and you know, just I don't know. You know, it's just like you can find yourself in a funk, or you know, like whatever. Life happens to people too. You
Sure.
know, so it's
Yeah.
like I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of a, you know, but it's not something, you know, just like in kind of American culture, mental health is kind of a taboo thing. We don't talk about it, you know,
Mhm.
as warrior class American men. We just, you know, oh, well, there's nothing wrong with me. I march on, ha ha ha. You know,
Especially
like
the over 40 crowd like us,
yeah,
you
for
know,
sure,
like,
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. That was not. It's not cool to, you know, it's not cool to talk about
whine about,
mental
yeah, yeah.
issues. It's like
Uh-huh.
fucking, you know,
pull
walk it
yourself
off,
up by
man.
your
Yeah.
bootstraps and
Yeah. Walk it
deal
off,
with it.
kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's been a nice thing about the day and age that we live in now is that that's looked at as more, and I think it's on the increase with all the social media and all the pressure that kids feel these days, being
Sure.
constantly under the microscope. Back in our day, there was nobody, it was not that was not an issue for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I agree. I think, well, and I mean, I think we're seeing we're seeing um in our society some of the ills of, I mean, obviously mental health is not something that's, you could get me on a tirade about guns, gun control and things like that. I think mental health is probably the bigger problem, because there's other countries that have plenty of guns that don't have the mental health issues that America does. And they don't, oh, by the way, they don't have the violence that America does. So mental health plays a huge role in all aspects, including keeping reptiles. It's a, it permeates our society as far as some of the ills that we suffer. Um,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah. That's another thing that new keepers often do is they get so excited about so many different animals and they just start buying things, kind of willy nilly,
hmm
and a lot of times then you want your wait. Oh, I realize that I really like this group and I want to focus, or maybe you like a diverse collection, and that could be something that benefits you positively. But I think a lot of times people get in over their heads really quickly, and I would recommend kind of starting out slow to some extent, especially if you're going to look at breeding animals, or just get a few and keep them just to see if you like them, because it's a lot
hmm
easier to sell a single animal than to try to move a breeding group if you don't really like it. And there it's honest to say that you might see something and think it looks cool and think, ooh, I want to keep that, and you get it and it's like, this is not what I was expecting. They're
hmm
every time I hold them, they take a crap on me, or they they bite me, and I don't enjoy that, so I don't enjoy this animal anymore. And then that animal maybe sits or gets neglected, or less attention paid to it, where there might be somebody that's dying to keep that animal and they
I
know all
can't
the
wait to get
the
crapped
negative.
on.
Yeah, exactly. There's
Yeah.
like Owen,
Yeah.
he loves those big
Shit
ornery.
on me,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah. So, not that Owen listens, but we can use him as an example on here. He's an easy example because
He's the go-to. He
he
is the
can't argue with
go-to
what we say.
example. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
So, there's plenty of people that would love to have that animal, or are in the same stage of that. Do I like it? Do I not like it? So again, I wouldn't buy too many up too quickly. Get some, give them a good setup, be prepared for them, do your research, that kind of thing, before you just start buying things. Or if something looks flashy or cool at a show, research it, because there's chances are that you'll be able to find it, especially if it's under $500 or something. There's probably a lot of people that have that same animal, because chances are it's an import, or that lots of people are breeding it and producing it. So there's no huge rush on it, I suppose. You can take the time to do your research and figure out if this is the animal for you. So
And if you didn't, and you bought a bunch of animals and you're in over your head, that's okay, because you're not alone. Most people end up doing that. So, as long as you're, cognizant of that, if you realize you've made a mistake, just say, okay, I got in too far too fast, and do the right thing and say, like, okay, I do like this, I don't like this, and find, sell those projects, find other homes
mhm.
for them, move them on, so that somebody else can either decide, oh, this project is for me, or this project is not for me. But if it's obviously not for you, don't hold on to it. Like, it's not gonna work out good for you, it's not gonna work out good for the animals. Like, if it doesn't, if it's not, if you're not getting anything out of it in the end, the animal will suffer for it, right? That's, I mean,
Yeah.
ultimately, if you're providing the care and you stop caring, that's not going to be a good outcome. So, I
Yeah.
mean, I think, you know, um, Justin, your point is well taken, but at the same time, like it happens to everybody. Everybody goes in fast and furious with reptiles because they're so cool. There's so many. You're so right in everything you said, but at the same time, you have to, like don't just do it because you're like, oh, I did all this stuff. This is my fault. I bear the burden of this. I'm going to hold on to these. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Sure.
It's
Yeah.
okay. Like there's no
Yeah.
there's no shame in making that mistake, and everybody makes that mistake. So there's no, like again, I think people, when they get in a bad headspace, they're having rough thoughts or whatever, they want to take it on themselves, like maybe in some way they did it, or somehow, it's not, it's not it's not about the blame or whose responsibility is, or whatever. It's about doing what is best for managing your mental health, your collection, doing what's best for the
Mhm.
animals, right?
Yeah, and I think a lot of things factor into that, and I would say, a lot of that is like, oh, I paid this much for it, and I really need to get that money back because I don't have a lot of money right now, or times are tight, and I can't afford to feed it, and if I, uh, just take a step back, look at it in the grand scheme of things. If you paid a couple
I
hundred
would give
bucks for it,
if I
what's a couple
needed to
hundred
give
bucks in the
if I
grand
need to
scheme?
give an animal away, I will
Yeah,
give I would like
exactly.
I don't buy
Find
any
somebody.
project. I don't buy any project that I couldn't turn around and give to somebody,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Because
That's something to keep in mind. Just
yeah,
you can move it on. Yep.
yeah,
Give it away.
it's absolutely more important to me to make sure that if it's not working, if it's not good, if it's not,
Mhm,
if it's not something that like I can do or deal with, I would rather move that animal on for nothing and eat the expense,
mhm,
hook somebody else up, who will totally do a great job with that, or hopefully do a great job with that, because I know I'm not going to give it my all, because it wasn't
mhm.
it wasn't it my expectation didn't match out, and I don't want the animal to suffer for that, so I'll eat it because it's just
Yeah,
money. It's just
yep,
money.
yeah,
Fuck the
and,
money. Who cares?
yeah, it's about the animal, not about the money. So,
And
if you
and
find
that's
yourself in
why
that position.
$20,000 for a Bolin's python is fucking retarded. I
Okay.
can't deal
Well,
with that.
yeah, we've covered that one, but yeah.
I'm just saying, like, you see what
Yeah,
I'm
no,
saying.
you're right. Yeah,
You get the point that I'm making.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, if you're gonna buy Bolins, you have to really appreciate that and understand that you could easily lose that animal and be out, 10 grand just like that. So if you're gonna do that, make sure you're prepared mentally for that potential outcome because you never know what's gonna happen.
That would be depression
That's the
right
way it works.
there.
Yeah, I mean, and that's dealing with animals. You're gonna have animals that die, and that can be a blow. I mean, every time you go in the reptile room, you're like, oh, or where that animal was housed, you're like, oh, I reminded of that painful experience, and so you do have to kind of let things go and focus on the things that are still alive and that still need your care and attention, and keep up the the husbandry. Don't give up the completely because you have an animal that dies, because that's got to be expected in the hobby. You've got to
Sure.
expect those
Well,
things to occur.
disappointment is part of reptile breeding,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, like I said, I
You're
just lost 4 of my s or 5 of my 7 eggs, and I'm down to 2. So, if I was planning on making a lot of money off that clutch or something, that just got cut in thirds or whatever.
yeah.
So, yeah,
But
we
since
need
I
to.
know it's not about the money.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I'd be happy if anything hatches.
Yeah.
I'm always
Right.
excited about a snake that hatches. It's always the best part to me, but
Yeah.
then again, I keep them all, so I have a hard time selling them. So
I know that's my
I don't
problem
put up
too. Is like
ads and
I have
update my website.
I
I
have stuff
apologize to anybody.
I need to get out that I
Yeah.
just am like too busy to put up ads. Or, I mean, it's all my excuse, but
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
no, I completely, that's my thing too. I,
yeah,
I, I enjoy the animals, and frankly, I mean, I don't need to sell them. I've
yeah.
got the space for them, and I enjoy keeping them. So that's okay if I hold on to them a little longer, and I want to make sure they're ready and good to go and that kind of
Hmm.
thing. So yeah, I did actually sell some animals this week, so that was
Did
kind of
you?
a yeah, and
Hmm.
it is good to move some of the animals on and replace them with things that are going to be hatching out soon, because
Yeah,
I'll be
for
up,
sure.
like I said, I'll be up to my eyebrows with stuff pretty soon. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's part of it, and I think a lot of people are great with animals, but maybe aren't that great with business. And so when they buy an expensive project and they think, okay, I'm going to make a lot of money, and then it comes time to sell them, and they put up ads, and they're like, oh, they don't just sell because you put up an ad. Like, you got to kind of work it. You got to be calling people on the phone, and that kind of thing. It's a little harder than just saying, oh, I produce these animals. Everybody's going to be knocking down my door to get them, and that can be a little depressing, when you go to sell them and realize that nobody cares about you because you don't have a proven track record. They don't know if they can trust sending money to you, if you'll be able to send them the animal, if you're gonna put it in a dirty sock and ship it to them, without a insulation or a heat pack. There's a lot of things that could happen, and so it is a deal of a trust, thing, and to get that reputation, you have to kind of go through the ringer a little bit, and that's another reason why it's probably better to kind of start out slow, demonstrate you have a track record. I can breed these animals, but I can also provide good customer service or help people, and sell them for a reasonable amount or whatever, and get a good reputation that way. So it's more than just producing the animals, and
Oh,
that can be
100%.
hard to take sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You got to get on that phone and mutton chop it up once in a while. Call people, talk to them about it,
Oh yeah. Yep, there's a great example of a
Yeah.
salesman,
No, I mean, and
yeah.
he does, I mean, like,
Oh yeah.
that's how
Well,
you
he
do it.
studies sales,
Yeah.
he
I mean,
reads books on
and,
sales and things.
but he has great animals. He calls people, he talks to
Mhm.
them. I mean, he knows, oh man, you should pair that with this. I have this, I have that, like, I mean,
Yep.
he's a salesman, but he's also, looking out for people. So, oh, have you thought about this? Have you thought, like, what about that? Like, da, 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 da,
Yeah.
like, so,
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of it. And, I know everyone gives him a hard time, and that's fair. He deserves it a little bit, but he's truly about his business, and he's truly about carpet pythons, and he's doing good.
Mhm.
He's been doing, will be doing, and does good stuff for carpets, so I mean,
Yeah.
hats off to him.
Yeah.
I always just bust his chops, though.
Ah, he doesn't listen either, so
I know.
it's all
I know.
good. We can say whatever we want, right?
He hears. He hears.
Yeah,
The
he has a good grapevine, and that's
Yeah.
another thing about being connected, And I'd go back to having a good support base, like making good friends in the reptile community. That does, I mean, having you as a co-host on this podcast is, I mean, it
What?
makes it so much easier and so much more enjoyable.
What?
So yeah, it's hats off to you, man.
Thanks,
You
man.
make this
Hats
a
off
lot
to
of
you
fun.
too.
So it's been very enjoyable experience.
I try. I know sometimes I'm a little much. I'm hard to
No,
take
that's
sometimes.
that's what brings the spice to the podcast. It was just
I
me, people would be falling asleep, I'm sure.
Listen, I try to keep it caliente for people.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that fiery attitude.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Try to be
yeah, so
fun. Try to be
and
fun.
and I mean, other than that, you've been a great friend for a lot of years, and I think, those are maybe hard to find sometimes,
For sure.
making those real connections, and having good true friends that aren't just oh, I like them because they have a nice snake, but that are actually care about you, and
Yeah.
give you a call once in a while and things.
No, it's
That's
I mean, it's I
one of
you
the
know,
best things about this
yeah,
hobby. Yeah.
you're one of my good friends. Like, we
Yeah.
definitely talk about way more than just reptiles. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's,
Exactly.
and I wouldn't say that we're view things exactly the same way. We agree on
Mhm.
quite a few things, but
Sure.
definitely there's some major differences. So it's,
Yeah.
it's a great, it's a great I love reptiles because of the diversity and the difference in
Mhm.
personality and people that you meet, and it's just, I don't know, it's such a great community of people, and it's such to do this, to be around long term, to be involved in reptiles for the long haul. It's not easy to do, and I think, hats off to everybody that I know that's still around, and it's good. It's something that, had I when I got all disgruntled about the way, social media and the popularity contest was. And I'd have just been like, I'm shutting down that part of my life, not doing it anymore. I
Yeah.
would have,
Yeah.
I'm glad I came back, and I'm glad, it's like, man, this is definitely such a worthwhile endeavor. And you think, man, remember all those people that used to be on MP forum that just
Mhm.
are, like you don't really realize it until you're like, what about this person? You're like, oh yeah, what
Yeah.
about them? Right? Like,
Yeah.
I remember that. You remember this part?
Mhm.
Oh yeah, and so there's so many people that have moved on, and I just, I
Yeah.
definitely value and really really like all of the people that have kind of been around and stuck it out, and
Mhm.
I don't know, if nothing else, Chuck and Justin care.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
So now it's all Kumbaya Club. There you go.
There we go, there we go.
Yeah.
Well, let me find something else that's negative. No. Just doing my part here, but,
Yeah.
um,
I have just
yeah,
turned into brother love right now. That's
there you go, yeah.
I'm
I ran
spreading the love.
into, one of the local guys at the reptile show, and he's I've vended a lot of the same reptile shows as him for many years, and, really, he produces some really nice ball pythons and stuff, and
Nice.
and I hadn't seen him at the show for, a couple times, and, I saw him, I'm like, and he was just, like, walking through, not vending, and I'm like, "What's
Hmm.
going on? Why aren't you vending?" He's like, "Oh, I got a Nido outbreak, and like it killed off most of his collection." And
Sucks.
he was like in the pits of despair every time he goes
Yeah.
into his reptile room. There's like another dead snake or something, and there's nothing he can do to really stop it other than isolate the ones that he knows are
Hmm.
positive. And so he just watched his whole all that work trying to get the collection he had and all those kind of things, and just watching it all go down the drain.
Yeah.
Just
That's, I mean, that
very
that
difficult to
is the
take.
nightmare right there. That's
Yeah.
it. That's the
Yep.
nightmare right there. It's
Yep.
just like there's no upside to that ever
Yeah.
at all. Anyway, like,
Mhm.
recipe for depression for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, and when it gets to that point, that's really a difficult choice you have to
Yeah.
make, and
Absolutely.
do you keep going on or do you rebuild or how do you deal with that,
Yeah.
So that's something to think about, be prepared and have kind of a support system that you can rely on to get you through if that, happens, and that's, definitely not something fun to think about, but it's
Nope.
something that needs to be considered. Working with live animals, things can go bad, things
Yep.
can go wrong,
For
and
sure.
so make sure you're bringing in healthy stuff from trusted sources. But
Do the
that
best you
always
can,
doesn't.
that's for sure. I
Yeah,
mean, well, I mean,
exactly.
every precaution, and I guarantee that guy feels like it was his fault, because he probably felt like, oh, I should have done this,
Yeah,
I could have done that, I didn't do this. And you
yeah,
don't know until everything in your, in your collection is kicking off one by one, and you're like,
yeah.
this is, it's just like a slow, dreadful downhill slide. Like,
And I'm not saying, you have to like be okay with that or be happy about it. You can still feel upset, and
yeah,
of
for
course,
sure.
obviously that's going to make you upset to lose any animals,
Yeah.
especially if it's a large part of a collection. But if you know that you're not the kind of person that can handle that, maybe don't get a collection of 200 animals, or
Yeah.
maybe stay smaller, or just have a few animals in really nice setups that you can enjoy and not have to worry about selling animals or worry about outbreaks of disease and things like that.
Well, and I
A
mean,
small
look,
collection is much more manageable.
listen, 2 clutches a year and 10 clutches a year are totally different things,
Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And you can get just as much enjoyment out of 2 clutches a year as you can 10.
Sure, yeah,
So,
and
that
not
that
everybody
idea.
needs to be a breeder, not
Yeah.
everybody needs
Yeah.
to be a professional,
Yep.
you can have a very small collection and only breed a couple clutches, like you said, and everything's hunky dory.
And I mean, I kind of feel like, that whole like idea that I keep the Terry Phillip way kind of, doesn't always help me, be as efficient as I can. It's kind of funny. I stick those
Mhm,
coastals outside pretty much the first year, and boom, they're breeding, and looks like she's gravid again, and it's like,
mhm, yeah,
okay, well, there you go. But I don't, like in my normal room, this stuff is like, yeah, like some
Mhm.
stuff does better than others, but it's not, and that's okay with me. Like I'm not in it to like make eggs every year and do like, it's like I enjoy it. Like, getting eggs is awesome, but
Yeah.
I don't want to do, like I'm already producing enough gecko eggs that I'm like, oh my gosh, this is kind of a lot. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and they're so consistent, and it's great. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, like, and they're easy. They're not hard.
Sure. Yeah.
And they all
Yeah.
have the same care requirements, and like, so it's
Mhm.
just a matter of housing and feeding. If you're feeding 5, but now you're feeding 20, what's the big, it's
Yeah.
not that much
Yeah.
more work. So,
Yeah.
to me, it's like, okay, this is good. This is manageable for me, but I don't have to produce anything. I don't care about that anymore. It's
Mhm.
like, so
Yeah. That's a nice place to be, I think, so
yeah,
and I
it
always feel
feels
like I
much
have too
better.
many animals. I need to get rid of some, but then it comes down to get rid of some, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm attached to all these. I
Yeah,
can't
for
really,"
sure.
so
Well, and I
it
mean,
it becomes a little tricky.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I think most anybody who's has a decent sized collection probably feels a little bit like you do. Like,
Mhm.
well, what am
Yeah.
I gonna get rid of? Oh gosh, I couldn't do that. I don't know, man.
Mhm.
I'm very attached to that. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
cool.
It's
Well,
tricky.
you got a lot of pets then.
Uh-huh. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Um, well, anything else to add? What other really great things uh, can boost your happiness in herpetoculture?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that being cognizant of um, where you're at, and what you're doing, and think about it, and just um, do what makes you happy. I don't think it's I don't think it's a magic thing, and you can't tell anybody where the line is, or um,
Yeah.
what to do. It's everybody's, it's your, it's like your own hero's journey, man. You got to figure out
Mhm.
your own path, and you can't look at other people's path because their path isn't your path, and you have to figure out what your path is to walk your path. And people who live genuinely happy lives walk their own path. They find their own bliss. So
Yeah.
you just have to be able to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's a struggle in life anyway, is just figuring out who you are.
Yeah.
I guess the bottom
Yeah.
line is do what's good for your
Yeah.
mental health, and know yourself, but think about the things that we've talked about tonight and consider those things, and hopefully that'll help you down the road.
Yeah,
Avoid.
I definitely feel like you're, people may take it like it's selfish to put your mental health in front of. I personally think your mental health is the most important thing in the whole thing, because if your mental health is not good, your animals are going to suffer because of it. So
Yeah,
do what you got to do to keep your mental health good, and that will lead to better outcomes. Is kind of how I feel.
for sure.
Having kind of been through a little bit of it myself, and I empathize with anybody who feels overwhelmed, or maybe is struggling a little bit with like their collection. I know exactly what that's like, and
Mhm.
there's no not people don't talk about it, but it's
Mhm.
all over the place, man. And so there's no shame in the game. There's
Yeah.
none.
Yep.
Zero.
For sure. All right. Well, we'll put a shout out to the Morelia Python Radio Network, and the Podfather and all his buddies. Check out MoreliaPythonsRadio.com for all of the information you could need. Sorry, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, and the Herpaholics Network that's going to be getting together here pretty soon. Excited for that.
Heck yeah, that'll be fun to herp with the Podfather and
Yeah.
Rob and the crew. That'll be
Oh,
good.
I know. It'll be fun. It'll be good times.
We'll have to force them to record something, all that good stuff from the
Yeah.
field. Those
Well,
are always
Owen
fun, I
won't be
think.
there. Owen is the
That's true.
resistance.
That's
He
true.
is
So
he is the resistor in that circuit.
I think they're pretty single-minded though when we're out there.
Yeah. Well,
I
and
brought
that's
it up at
fair.
the last trip, and they're like, "No, thanks."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
So
no.
maybe we won't, but we'll see.
And I feel
See if we
bad
can
for
get 'em to
Eric
do
because
something.
he lives his life editing podcasts. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's true.
And
That's
herping
true.
is like, listen, Justin, by the way, I am taking a break from editing podcasts right now.
Yeah.
So I get that.
Oh, they Eric put out the new Gakota
Yeah,
podcast.
I
That was
know. I
pretty
seen
sweet.
that.
Yeah, I'm
I
excited
know.
for that one. A
Yeah.
couple of gecko files here, so that'll be fun
Yeah.
to hear. So check that out. Check out the other podcasts that they're putting out. I listened to their book club one, and that was fun. It got me
Cool.
reading my copy of the book they talked about. So I'm not too far in, but it got me excited to continue reading on.
Did
so.
you have that book already? You just needed to read it, or what?
Well, yeah, I needed time, and now that the
Yeah.
book editing's kind of done, we're there, so we can talk about that a little more on the next episode. But
there we
all
go.
right, well, thanks for listening. Catch us again for another episode of Reptile Fight Club.
All right.
Fight Club.